Hello. Good morning. Hi, you guys. Happy Monday. New start to our week, right? I got these little baby hairs. Anyway, how's it going? Happy Monday, right? Well, today we are talking about anxiety. So, Mondays, a lot of people tend to get anxiety, especially if you are going to work and you have a job that you don't like that can cause a lot of anxiety, right? We'll talk about that on this episode. Today we're talking about some of the symptoms of anxiety, and I'm going to give you 3 tools to help you manage your anxiety. So, let's start with our first affirmation, and then we're going to do more affirmations at the end. So stay tuned for that. Usually it's the last 5 minutes. So our first affirmation, let's say it 3 times. I can overcome anything. I can overcome anything. One more time. I can overcome anything. I truly believe that you can overcome anything. Like, you were made to be strong, and you are strong. If you watched episode 14, which was Fitish Friday, last Friday, I talk about how you are strong and you're stronger than you think. Like, everybody is stronger than they think because you have been through so much and you have overcome it. So, all right, let's do a little update on me. I like to just fill you guys in on what's going on in my life, just so you can get to know me a little better, and so I can keep it real with you and let you know, I'm struggling too and what I'm struggling with, or if I'm doing well, what's going well for me. So I want to let you guys know. But first of all, I don't know if you can see this, but see my my wedding band. It's really thin, but I have an NSV. NSV is non-scale victory, if you didn't know. That's like in the health community, we celebrate non-scale victories because it's not always about the weight that you're losing. It's not always about a number. It's about how you feel and like these other little accomplishments. So I haven't worn my wedding band. So like my wedding ring has like a little gap. It's hard to see, sorry. My wedding ring is a little looser than my wedding band, even though they're the same size. My engagement ring, the diamond, is a little looser, so I've always been able to wear it, even when I was a heavier weight. But since about a few months after my wedding, which my wedding was 3 years ago in October, I haven't been able to wear my band, like the actual rose gold wedding band. And that's because I gained weight after our wedding. I was, a certain weight at our wedding, and then I gained some weight, and I literally, so for like over 2.5 years, I haven't been able to wear my wedding band. So I'm really excited that I can finally wear it again. So that's kind of a big NSV for me. I'm really excited about it. My wedding was 3 years ago, and I weighed myself recently, and I actually weigh less than I did at my wedding 3 years ago. So that's kind of another accomplishment. Like I said, like I don't focus on weight loss. I focus on how I feel and like my health and stuff. So, but it just so happens that I'm there. So I talked about bipolar hypomania back a few episodes ago. I did a whole series on it, and part of hypomania is not sleeping, and it's something I was experiencing myself. So I'm still not sleeping great. Like, I'm not sleeping completely through the night. I'm waking up a lot. So that's one thing that thank you, Monica. So that's one thing that something is off is if your sleep is off, and that's actually a symptom of anxiety that we will talk about today. So I know something's off, so I'm actually going to see my psychiatrist again this week. I saw her a few weeks ago, and she wanted to follow up within like 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm going to see her again, and we'll see. I did a medication change, and we'll see if I need to change something else. So yeah. So I want you to think about this for a second before we get into our topic. I know you want to get the good, like, find out about anxiety and what you can do to help it, right? But I want you to think about if you have anxiety and how it kind of takes over your life, right? So I want you to imagine for a moment the possibilities of an anxiety-free life. Like, how amazing would that be? Not having any anxiety. How would your life look different? What would you do if you didn't have the anxiety? You know, anxiety holds us back from so much. And I've experienced this myself. I've had really severe anxiety where I couldn't go to school, I couldn't go to work and stuff. We'll talk about that more, but picture your life without anxiety. Wouldn't that be amazing? So what I want to do is help you get to that point. I'm not saying you can cure your anxiety. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. I don't think there is a cure for it. I think there's just tools and stuff that you can use to help manage your anxiety. And like I said, we're going to go over some of those. So first, I wanted to talk about some of the symptoms of anxiety. If you missed it on episode 13, it was part 2 of 4, and we started going over the symptoms. Those were, worrying a lot, excessive worry. It had to occur at least 6 months or longer. That is to be diagnosed. And of course, like I've said before, this is not a diagnosis. I'm not a licensed professional. You need to see a licensed psychiatrist, counselor, or a social worker to be diagnosed with generalized anxiety. But you can have anxiety and not have it as a diagnosis. You can just have it for periods of time or whatever. But the other symptom that we went over on episode 13 was that it's hard to control. So go back and watch that if you missed that episode. But today we're talking about physical symptoms, because I think anxiety, out of like all the disorders and everything, I think anxiety has the biggest impact on our physicality, like on our physical well-being. It shows up, and we're going to talk about this, it shows up in so many ways. Like, anxiety can manifest in your body in all kinds of different ways. And we're going to go over that today so you can kind of recognize, like, maybe you're having some of these symptoms, and maybe, like, that is a signal that your anxiety is like worse or out of your control. So first of all, to be diagnosed, so I'm just going over the criteria for a diagnosis. So that way, if you meet that criteria, you need to go see a professional. I'm not a professional. I'm doing this based off my own experience with anxiety. So if you feel like you have these, if you meet these criteria, like as far as you need to go see a psychiatrist or a licensed counselor and work with them to see if you have it and you can be diagnosed with it. But I'm not saying that you have to be diagnosed to have anxiety. You can still have anxiety without having like the official diagnosis. So to be diagnosed, just so you know, it has to be at least 3 of these physical symptoms. So we're going to go over a lot of physical symptoms. There are quite a few, and there's more that I didn't include, but you have to have at least 3 of these for the diagnosis. So the first one I talked about when I was going over my update is the sleep disturbance. So your sleep, like, that is, when your sleep is off, that is a big clue, like, okay, something is off, like whether it's depression or, a lot of stress, or, maybe you're like, when you're sick, like, just think about when you're sick with the flu or something, you're sleeping more or you can't sleep because you're up and stuff. It's kind of the same thing. Like, anxiety is an illness. I like to say mental health issue or mental health disorder because illness has that stigma, right? But it really does make you sick. So, and it makes you sick physically. So you might be sleeping less, you might have trouble falling asleep, or like for me personally, it's that my sleep is interrupted. So it's not like solid, straight, 7, 8 hours of sleep. It's like I wake up every hour or every couple hours and I'm like, all right, like I need to go back to sleep. So Or on the opposite, you can be sleeping a lot. So you might feel like you need to sleep more often. You might be taking more naps. You might, instead of like 7 or 8 hours at night, you might be sleeping like 9, 10, 11, 12 hours, which I've definitely also experienced. Or for me, what I did when I have severe anxiety, have had it, is I would sleep and I wouldn't sleep very well, like in the 8 hours that I planned, to sleep. And then I would wake up and my anxiety would be so bad, I would go back to sleep as a way to like avoid the day, right? So I'd go back to sleep and sleep for a few hours, and then my day would start later, and then I'd go into work later, and then I'd be stressed, and then that would just, kind of snowball and make the anxiety worse. So sleep is definitely a big clue if you have anxiety that something is off. So another physical symptom is feeling restless or feeling like you're on the edge, like kind of like you can't sit still, or like you're just like your mind's racing, or like you feel like, oh my gosh, like is something bad going to happen? That's kind of the worry of anxiety, is like, oh my gosh, like you're kind of like you jolt, or you're like more alert. You're like, oh man, like, what's going to happen or whatever. So kind of that restless, on edge feeling is one of the physical symptoms too. Another symptom, and this is like a lot of these are symptoms of stress, right? So stress, I believe, leads to anxiety, but you can have stress and be able to manage that. But when you're not taking care of your stress, I believe it takes on the form of anxiety. Not for everyone, like I said, like this is all unique to you and your circumstances, but these are just possibilities that could be happening. So you could get easily tired throughout the day. So you might sleep okay, or you might like sleep 7, 8 hours mostly, but throughout the day you're getting more tired, and that's because like anxiety is wearing you out, right? So that's a big physical symptom, is just feeling sluggish or tired or fatigued. Like that is a symptom of anxiety. So another one is difficulty concentrating. So your mind, like you're trying to concentrate, like do something at work or school or whatever, and you can't really concentrate, and your mind like kind of goes blank sometimes. Like you might just be like zone out and be like, oh my gosh, what was I doing? I mean, I get that because I have ADD personally, so I have difficulty concentrating unless it's something I'm really interested in. Usually when I'm trying to concentrate on something, I have to have something in the background, or like background noise, in order, like, so I'll watch like a video or like listen to a podcast or whatever while I'm doing something that's a little boring for me. But when you have anxiety, it can be difficult to concentrate anyway. So, so your mind might go blank. Now, these symptoms I went over, so sleep disturbance, restlessness, stress, being easily tired, difficulty concentrating, these might all be symptoms of being a new mom. So sorry, my nose is so itchy. So if you're a new mom, I just want to insert a disclaimer here. If you're a new mom, like say you have a brand new baby or a little baby, toddler, whatever, these might just be symptoms of being a new mom, like all of these that I've listed so far. So yeah, like it still might be anxiety. I'm not saying it's not anxiety. It definitely might still be, but it could also just be the result of having a newborn child. So, I just wanted to let you guys know, in case you are a new mom and you're feeling that way, you might not need to see a doctor. You might just need to do some of these things to make yourself feel better. But, once the kids grow up and stuff, hopefully that goes away. If it doesn't, then you might have a problem. But, okay, so those are kind of general physical symptoms of anxiety. What I want to go over now are kind of more specific, like these are like warning signs of anxiety when it's getting bad. So it will manifest in those other physical symptoms, like, and they might not be that bad. You might kind of be able to manage it. You might be like just tired or whatever. But when it gets painful, so anxiety, it gets painful in your body. Like, your body is not made to be anxious all the time. So when that happens, it will like manifest in like pain for you. So you might have muscle tension is another physical symptom of anxiety, just being tight all the time, especially like tight in the neck, tight in the back. Just any kind of muscle tension. Obviously, if you're working out a lot and you're not stretching enough, you're going to have muscle tension. So make sure if you're working out daily or often that you're stretching. But anxiety can manifest in the muscle tension, and that can lead to headaches, right? So I think one of the big physical symptoms of anxiety is headaches. I mean, when you're stressed, you get a headache, right? So if you're stressed a lot, if you have a lot of anxiety, you get headaches a lot. So that was something that I actually had, was when I had a lot of anxiety, was I would get headaches like all the time. And then also like my diet, what I was eating and drinking and stuff wasn't helping that at all. So, make sure you have good nutrition, like you're eating things that make you feel good, because that can just make it worse. But headaches are a big physical symptom of anxiety. So along with headaches, you get stomach aches. So stomach aches, stomach pain, feeling nauseous, queasy, that can also be a sign of bad anxiety, stomach pains. And sometimes like anxiety can get so bad, people can literally get ulcers and stuff, like, so that is a serious thing that you need to watch for. Also, so if you have severe anxiety, if you're getting stomach pains, that can also manifest in the form of your bodily functions. So you might vomit, or you might have diarrhea or something. We talk about poop on this show. I mean, it's SHT show, shit show. But if you're irregular, like your bowel movements are irregular, or you have diarrhea, like, and your stomach pains, that could be a form of anxiety. If I just want to insert, like, if your poop, like, sorry, we talk about poop a lot, but it's important. It really is important, because kind of like the sleep, when your bowel movements are off, like they're not regular, like your poop, I feel weird saying poop. I need to stop saying it. But it should be solid, and it should be like regular, like daily, like in the morning or whatever time of the day. Usually you should be regular on a daily basis, going to the bathroom, going poop, and it should be solid. So if it's not, like, either one, your nutrition is off, like something you're eating isn't good for you or causing that, or two, you could be having major anxiety and that could be causing it. I know in particular for my husband, his anxiety manifests in this way. When he was really anxious, when he didn't like his job, he hated his 9-to-5 job, or it was longer than 9 to 5. It was like 10 hours a day. He was getting really bad anxiety, especially on Mondays. Like I said in the beginning, when it's Monday and you have to go to a job you don't like, you can get really sick, and then you end up calling in sick because you feel sick, right? But he would wake up in the middle of the night throwing up, or he'd wake up early in the morning, like before his alarm went off, and he'd be like throwing up uncontrollably and stuff. So, or, he would have diarrhea and just be going to the bathroom a lot. So that is definitely some anxiety that he was having. And actually now, good news, he got a new job, and this has basically gone away for him, which I'm really happy for him. So that is important. Like, if you're really unhappy with your job, or it's like a hostile environment and you don't like going there, like, it's gonna make you sick, and like, you need to do something about that. Like, anyway, that could be a whole nother show. But we're almost at 20 minutes, so I want to get to our affirmations. So I'm going to save I was gonna talk about panic attacks, but I'm gonna save that for the next episode. We'll talk about panic attacks and the symptoms of a panic attack, because they can be the symptoms we talked about, but then plus more. So we'll talk about that on the next show. Okay, so I want to get to the tools real quick. We'll go over them fairly quickly. So the first one, and this is a big one I use for managing anxiety, is reading a book or listening to a book or a podcast. So when you have anxiety, like your mind is kind of out of control, right? You're worrying, you're like thinking about the worst thing that could happen, or you're thinking about all the things that are stressful in your life. And so your mind is like not in a good place. So when that happens, you need to like shift your mind. You need to basically get it unstuck, because like anxiety gets you stuck, like especially your thinking, it gets you stuck in a certain way. So to get unstuck, you need to change your brain. So you need to do something different. For me, that is reading or listening to a book or a podcast. And I highly recommend, like, podcasts are free. Like, there's so many good ones. There's literally a podcast for anything. So find something you like, and when you are feeling anxious, listen to something good. And I want you to listen to a positive podcast. Like, don't listen to like a murder. I mean, that's obviously going to get your mind off of it for a moment. But I think if you listen to something negative, like, that's just eventually, like, you might not think about your anxiety while you're doing it, but it's going to make it worse, is at least what I believe. So I want you to listen to something positive, a positive podcast, something about health or something about personal development, business, or something. And if you want podcast recommendations, let me know, because I love them and I listen to a lot of good ones. So the pool guy just got here, so if my dogs start barking, it's because the pool guy's here. But okay, so reading a book is also a great way to get your mind off of it. You can get books free at the library, so there's no excuse. You don't have to buy a book, go borrow one. So anyway, second tool, turn off the TV. Turn off especially the TV. When I say TV, I mean the news. TV can be distracting. Like, I think like the reality shows and stuff aren't very healthy to be watching. I mean, yeah, you can watch them for fun and stuff, like they're a guilty pleasure, but turn off the news, because the news is so negative and the news can cause so much anxiety. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. You guys, I have not watched the news in years. And the only time I watch it is when I'm at somebody else's house and they happen to have it on. At my house, I do not watch the news, and there's a reason for that, because it is so negative. I try to keep that out of my life. So even like some of these talk show hosts and stuff, when they talk about the news, like, it's negative. So be careful what you're taking in to what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're consuming. That has a big effect on your well-being and what you think about and how you feel. So just be really conscious and careful of that. The third tool, I'm just going to give you it real quick, but I'm going to actually do a whole nother episode on this to give you more tools and tips for this, but practice mindfulness. And if you don't know what mindfulness is, just Google it real quick. It's becoming more popular. Mindfulness is actually something that's used in therapy a lot, to help people de-stress and help people with anxiety. So practicing mindfulness, if you don't know what mindfulness, it's basically observing, focusing, and like taking a pause. So it's kind of like you pause and you focus on one thing and just like observe it and kind of be in the moment. Like, mindfulness is really being in the moment, like bringing your focus to one thing at a time. So that's mindfulness. I knew the dogs were going to do that. Anyway, so listen to a book or a podcast, or read a book. Turn off the news, especially the TV. If you're on social media all the time, get off social media. Take a digital... Okay, you guys. Okay. Stop. No. Sorry, guys. You guys, no. Come here. Hey, come on. Come here. Sorry, they were just going to keep barking. Okay, so those are the 3 tips. We'll do our affirmations, and then we'll end on a quote, and then that'll be it. So these affirmations, I'm going to say you are, and then we're going to say I am, and we'll repeat it twice. So you are doing the best you can. You are stronger than you think. You make room for peace in your life. You are in control of your life. Okay, now let's say I am. So I am doing the best I can. I am stronger than I think. I make room for peace in my life. I am in control of my life. I focus on the positive. Okay, one more time, and then we'll end on our quote. I am doing the best I can. I am stronger than I think. I make room for peace in my life. I am in control of my life. I focus on the positive. I focus on the positive. I think when you have anxiety, it can be so negative and it makes you think about all the negative things. So focusing on the positive is a great way to shift your mindset and get out of anxiety. So, okay. So our end quote has to deal with anxiety. It's from Dan Millman, Millman, Millman. He is an author and he is a speaker on personal development. So he says, you don't have to control your thoughts. You just have to stop letting them control you. You don't have to control your thoughts. Your thoughts are going to come and go. Your thoughts, they're on like a replay in your head, right? Your thoughts are just thoughts. You don't have to control them, but you have to stop letting them control you. Stop letting your thoughts control you. Change your thoughts to change your mindset, and that will be a big help with your anxiety. So if you like this episode, please share it with people. Subscribe. It's on YouTube, so you can subscribe to that. If you have any topics that you want me to talk about on future episodes, please email selfhelptodayshow@gmail.com. Again, that's just all one word, selfhelptodayshow@gmail.com. Let me know your thoughts or what you want to talk about. And thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. If you know somebody that needs this, please share it. Have a great day.